Live from New York, it's Ask an Engineer.
Everybody, and welcome to Ask Engineer. It's me, Ladyada, the engineer. With me, Mr. Ladyada. We're on the disco dance floor, it seems. We've got an exciting show for you tonight. About 1 hour's worth of making, hacking, coding content. What's going on in the world of LEDs and displays and sensors
Yeah.
and making stuff and being creative and using your hands and your brain. I'm excited. My favorite hour of the week. Everything builds up for this.
Okay.
So, Mr. Ladyada, why don't you tell them the code and then what's on tonight's show?
On tonight's show, the code is PTFE. That'll make a lot of sense. It has nothing to do with me or iron. But it is the discount code tonight for one of the products we have. It'll all make sense soon. We are celebrating New Year! Happy New Year, everybody. It's Year of the Snake. Today was a paid day off for our team, but some of us are still working a little bit today. So if you celebrate today as Chinese New Year, Lunar New Year, regular New Year, Year of the Snake, Happy New Year. Talk about Desk of Ladyada, including the Great Search. We'll do a little bit of a highlight there, including JP's product pick of the week. Highlight there too. Some open source hardware news, including some tidbits and more from our Adafruit learning system, and also playgrounds. We've got INMPI brought to you by DigiKey. This week it is Bell. Got some new products. Got some fun top secret. A little bit of preview for the top secret. You'll see some new things, some round things, and some things we're working on. We're going to answer your questions, the ones that were sent in advance and the ones that we'll get out of the chat rooms across the different social platforms. But if you want to ask some questions during the show, go to Discord, adafruit.it/discord, and we will see you there. Throughout tonight's show, I'll be bouncing to different backgrounds. That is one of the products we're going to be showing tonight. This is a, do you call these like LED panels?
I call them LED nettings.
Nettings.
It's like a net. It's, there's X and Y.
Yeah, so you can see some of them there. These are the product videos, and I just put them on the loop behind us here so you can see that. But then we'll also have things like this. So let's jump in, adafruit.com/free. That gets you the free stuff. We're going to be changing stuff up there. Do check it out. Same day shipping is back in New York City. In your checkout experience before 11 a.m. if you're in New York, you can get it same day. So far, so good. We've just turned this back on. We use UPS, which uses a company called Rody. I like them a lot. I used it for Home Depot. Same day deliveries, and we got lucky because it's the same service that we could get for Adafruit through UPS, who we love and trust. So let's do a little bit of recap from Desk of Ladyada this week. What was on the show on Sunday, Ladyada?
Okay, so I showed up a capacitive touchscreen replacement that I'm debugging and writing a driver for and testing to make sure it works. We also got the ESP programmer going that came in. I tested it, verified it worked, and I ordered PCBs and got a tester. And then for the Great Search, click ahead to the Great Search.
Yeah, what'd you do there?
I'll tell you. I found some ultra-fine tip tweezers that entomologists could like using. Not etymologists. They also like to pick over things with a fine-tooth comb. But this is for fine-tooth tweezing for picking up little bugs.
Yeah, and a doctor of bug said, "Hey, I do electronics and I watch your show and I hang out with bugs."
Yeah,
and I like that pick.
Sweet.
Yeah. All right. On Tuesdays we do the product pick with JP. Here is this week's highlight.
That is the product pick of the week this week. It is the Nuxie. It is a TFT board. It's 1.14 inches. It is 240 by 135 pixels. It's an IPS display, and it is designed to be used vertically. So plug in just like a Nixie tube. 3 displays running on a single microcontroller, all sharing the same everything. So these are not separately addressable the way I have them set up right here, right now. But I do have them doing just a slightly randomized slideshow between displaying some lit up numbers versus some just going blank. Here's a little clock I built for it. So I have a Feather RP2350 and a little real-time clock Feather wing. And I just plugged these into Feather Tripler there, and I have a nice display there that alternates between the day, date, and time. The Nuxie TFT display.
Alrighty, and on Thursday is JP's workshop. On Wednesdays, which was today, do check out 3D Hangouts with Noah and Pedro. And on Friday is Deep Dive with Scott.
More Zephyr than you can shake a west wind at.
Yes. So next up is some open source hardware news. This is big news for people who follow this, which I think is like me now. There is an Arduino that is made in India, and
It's cool.
it's happening. So one,
Does it even have like the graphic in
yeah, you can check this out.
Sanskrit? Why,
Yeah.
I don't know the technical word for the writing system is.
Yeah, they have a whole
Hindi.
explanatory
Yeah.
blog post on this.
Okay.
But one of the things is Arduino Day is coming up, by the way, March 21st and 22nd.
Yes.
We're going to be doing
We'll do stuff. We'll
Yeah.
do stuff.
So one of the goals of Arduino was long term was to make the Arduinos locally. They wanted to have Arduinos made in India, Arduinos made in China, pretty much any continent, instead of having them shipped over there. I know they wanted to do Arduinos made in Brazil because there's a lot of import tariffs. So they wanted something made in each region, which made a lot of sense. I think it also cuts down on counterfeits, and also can lower prices, support local, all these things. So this was a long time coming. Arduino has venture funding now. They're expanding in other areas like Pro and like Enterprise and some other things. So I was happy to see this as being still part of the mission, which is to get electronics made in the local regions where it is. So
That's what's great about open source hardware, right?
yeah. And as always, because I'm me, I double checked. I emailed the CEO of Arduino, Fabio, and their open source director, leader. And I said, hey, just to, I don't know, it's fine, just to make sure, are these also open source hardware? And they said, yep, same designs as the regular Arduino
Cool.
R4s. So do check it out. And you'll probably hear a lot about this on Arduino Day specifically. But harder to find publications and websites that cover this like very insidery baseball stuff. I think this is interesting. So if you're looking around for some success stories with open source hardware, this is one of the biggest ones still. Okay, let's go to, speaking of, Adafruit Learning System has a bunch of stuff going on this week. We have some guides and more. Ladyada, what's on the big board this week?
Okay. Can you hide me?
Yeah, well, sure. Bye.
It's a little easier. Okay.
Bye.
This week, we've got the guide for the Sparkle Motion Mini went up, and the super silent stepper motor turntable. That was a project that Noah and Pedro worked on. So those are the two guides for this week. More coming.
Okay. And then in Playground, a bunch of stuff happened. We got the greenhouse temperature logger. We've got the 7-inch Sunton ESP32S3 with Circuit Python. This is how to get this display up and running. That is cool. Adventure Engine mapping a world with NeoTrinky. This is from Mr. Klingon. We also have a Circuit Python Matrix Portal S3 NTP clock. If you want a very accurate Circuit Python Matrix clock, this is for you. And then this was the one that we mentioned last week. This if you want to get your I/O data into Google Sheets. Very cool. Okay, next up, let's do some 3D printing. All right, we are going to do this week's 3D printing project, and then to speed up, we will see you on the other side in about 2 minutes.
You can build a motorized turntable using CircuitPython and electronics from Adafruit. The Snuda is a lazy Susan from IKEA that features a solid wooden top and a swivel mounting plate with built-in ball bearings. We thought we'd repurpose the tabletop and hardware to create a custom motorized turntable that we can use in our project videos. You can of course also 3D print your own tabletop if you want custom colors and different sizes. To rotate the tabletop, we're using a stepper motor and the TMC2209 driver chip from Trinamic. The Adafruit Breakout features super silent microstepping with a UART interface and an onboard potentiometer for current limiting. The screw block terminal makes it easy to hook up a stepper motor. We think it's a great breakout for smooth and silent stepper motor control. The stepper driver is controlled by the Adafruit KB2040 with a 5-volt buck converter, so we can power the motor and dev board with a single power supply. We're using an OLED display and a rotary encoder to control the motor for adjusting the speed and changing up the direction. CircuitPython makes it easy to change the settings and the user interface. This uses async I/O for multitasking when scrolling through the menu and toggling the pins to move the motor. You can use the rotary encoder to switch between the different menu items and then press to select between the different settings. Clockwise and counterclockwise for the direction, slow, medium, and fast for the speed, and then on and off to disable the motor. We think this makes for an advanced open source turntable that you can build and make yourself. We hope this inspires you to check out CircuitPython and the TMC2209 stepper driver for your next motorized project.
Alrighty, Ladyada, since we're going to do maybe a shorter show tonight because it's holiday, let's dive right into INPI. But first, don't forget the code is PTFE. You'll see why soon, but let's get it on. Hi, NPI brought to you by DigiKey. Thanks, DigiKey. This week it is Bell. Every single week we look at the hottest, newest new product introductions. And this week, Ladyada, what is it?
Okay, this week we are looking at some MagJack Ethernet and USB jacks from Bell fuses. I use these myself and I think they're awesome. This is just an example of one. There's a couple variants we'll show off. They are Ethernet jacks that have built-in magnetics. Very, very handy when you're doing Ethernet projects. Some people might think like, well, Ethernet's like this really old, like 1980s technology. Why are we even talking about it when we have Wi-Fi and Bluetooth and Zigbee? But, Ethernet rules. It's reliable. You don't have SSIDs and passwords. It's plug and play. We've multi-gigabyte Ethernet now using the same Cat5, Cat6 cables that we've been using for quite a while. We have our house wired with Ethernet. It's great. I actually think, more people should be using Ethernet when they think they should be using Wi-Fi, especially since you can do PoE, power over Ethernet as well. And so you get the benefits of internet and only one cable to power and network your devices. So, Raspberry Pis have Ethernet. A lot of dev boards have Ethernet. The use an RJ45 cable to transmit, like I said, you can do power, but essentially data. And they can go hundreds and hundreds of meters. And to use Ethernet, like I'm going to be talking about microcontrollers. Microcomputers usually use a USB to Ethernet adapter, like the Raspberry Pi has a PCIe or USB bridge to an Ethernet chip. But a lot of microcontrollers these days actually are starting to come with what is called an Ethernet MAC, which is not the same as the MAC address. This is the underlying protocol management access core or something, I don't remember what MAC stands for, that does the packet generation and transmission and reception and collision detection of Ethernet using the 4 wires that dual transmit and the dual receive. So once you've got that, for example, the ESP32 has the built-in ability to do Ethernet, you can't just connect it directly to the RJ45 jack that the Ethernet goes to. You need to have this magnetic transformer in between to balance the output because it's a differential output. Also, you want to protect it because the cables are really long and you have these exposed wires and you can have high voltages and spikes coming in on it. So you want to first clean up the signal a little bit, but also you do want to have electric isolation. Ethernet should not be earth grounding. You should have because the cables can be so long, there's no guaranteed what ground is on the other side. So they have full isolation inside using transformers that also sometimes do level shifting, because I think the signals is plus minus 2.5 volts. In this case, your microcontroller might be doing 3.3 volts plus or minus. There's also chips like the WizNet, which is SPI to Ethernet. Ditto, as you see here in this example schematic from the WizNet eval board, there's this transformer kit in the center that does signal, cleanup and also electrical isolation. So that sits between the jack and the microcontroller. You can get from Bell these discrete LAN magnetics. And there's depending on the application, the price and the size and the speed and the voltage and, what your chip is expecting for impedance, there's like a couple dozen different options. But basically, there's guaranteed to be one. And inside these black rectangles there's no chips inside. There literally is just like a PCB with the magnetics embedded inside and maybe a capacitor and some not transistor, but protection diodes, etc. And I've seen them used on some boards. For example, this seed Ethernet shield. You can see that says Group Tech in the middle, next to the Ethernet jack. Because space was not at a premium and they wanted to reduce price as much as possible, I'm assuming that's why they went with a separate jack and magnetics. But if you're designing something like the Ethernet Featherwing and you want it to be a single-sided board, you want it to be optimized for space. I don't want, I didn't have space on this design to have jack plus magnetics. Also, you get the benefit of having the magnetics inside of a metallic shell, which is grounded to your local device. It helps shield it a little bit. And so this has the magnetics inside the jack, and it's kind of nice because you just connect the pins and you have maybe a couple capacitors, required a couple series resistors, but all of the electromagnetic stuff is handled inside. And there's a lot of varieties available from Bell, from vertical to horizontal, plastic, metal, with LEDs, without LEDs. One of them was in stock. A lot of them are available. They're all about $2 to $3 basically in quantity one. They get more less expensive. But if size is at a premium, absolutely, this is the way to go. But also, you might prefer not to have two components. It might end up being about the same price to have it integrated. It might make for a more elegant build. And like I said, the EMI might be reduced. It's a quick thing to do if you're like, hey, I'm noticing that my product isn't passing my electromagnetic tests. Update to one of these mag jacks. And, that might be enough to reduce the emitted noise. Each product comes with the pinout. There is kind of like a standardized pinout, of course, if it's vertical versus horizontal or it's sunken versus not, it might matter. So check the data sheet. They're all going to be through hole. There's no question about that. However, you can do pin and pad. And I've seen companies get away with it for, and then maybe you touch up a little bit on the mechanical connectors just for security. And then each one also has its own internal connectivity. So in this case, this one has the transformer and also has some resistances built in, and then it looks like 1,000 picofarad capacitor. Also, if they have the LEDs might also have pinouts, and so you would connect those to your controller to link the RX and TX LEDs. So the link and signal LEDs automatically through your controller chip, which is usually sometimes handled separately, sometimes it's built in. Like I said, I like the ones that have the LEDs built in. This one has little fingers on the edge, so when you put it into your enclosure, if it's metal, you can earth shield the whole thing. This one's vertical, convenient if you have a back panel or if you want to have the connector coming from the top. And then what I thought was also kind of neat is this, they also have a couple combo ports. So this is cute because it's very compact. You get 2 USB plus 1 Ethernet with signal LEDs as well. And these are, like I said, there's a couple varieties in stock right now for shipping from DigiKey. If you want to do Ethernet, simplify your design, make your design compact, you want a reliable, ready to go magnetic included jack, check out these Bell fuses. They're great.
All right, let's go on. And that's this week's Ion MPI.
And that's this week's Ion MPI.
On MPI.
Alrighty, it's going to be time to dive into new products, but don't forget the code is PTFE. It is Lunar New Year, so we will be resuming our shipping tomorrow. And a reminder for people in the New York area, don't forget, same day service has returned. Just order before 11 a.m. and it gets to you. I think right now we've done the average less than an hour and a half, I think, for the same day delivery
It's
in
not
a
guaranteed,
large
but
area in the almost tri-state area. Like it's far.
it's far.
Yeah.
Yeah. Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens.
Yeah, we can even expand it later, but
Yeah.
so far so good.
It's a lot of people, millions of people.
Millions. Let's go and do some new products. You ready?
Okay. New, 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 new.
Coming soon.
Coming soon, this round display, because it was Lunar New Year, we did not get this into the shop today. We got some photos. We have to get the demo photos and get these stocked. However, they're tested and ready. So there's a good chance that tomorrow they'll be in the store. This beautiful round display is IPS TFT, 240 by 240 pixels. It's round. It's got level shifting built in, so it can work with any microcontroller. It has iSpy, has a micro SD card.
Yeah.
Regulator. This is going to be the easiest round display.
In top secret, we have a video of it as we're doing our testing, so stay tuned for that.
Okay, so coming soon.
Okay.
So we'll shut off next week, but it'll probably be in the shop this week.
Hey, speaking of Ethernet.
This looks like Ethernet, but it's actually not.
It's not.
Ethernet. I know. Trick. Good
Looks
trick.
just like it.
Look, this is actually RJ50. Had a couple people tell us like there's equipment that uses RJ50. This is a 10-pin
Oh boy.
connector, not 8-pin. I give like 18 warnings that this is not Ethernet.
Yeah.
But if you're doing RJ50 10-pin contact stuff,
What do you use it for?
like I said, like telephony and some telephone stuff, industrial equipment, some robotics.
That makes sense.
It's like because you don't. I actually have a very firm policy that connectors should be unique. Like, do not.
Yeah.
I really think like don't use Ethernet connectors RJ45 for things that are not Ethernet.
I like it.
Because it could end in tragedy. This is based off of seeing a Burning Man project where somebody they wanted a microphone, like a 3-pin XLR microphone extension, and they used a IEC, like a power cable for it. And I'm just like, what are you doing? So anyways, RJ50, different than RJ45. Also, don't use power cables for things that are not power. It could end in tears.
Okay. Here we go. These are some of the ones that we were talking about in the beginning of the show from our background.
These are big nettings.
Yeah.
Very big. So the 1 meter, the 2 meter.
How big is it? Look to the right. That's a person standing.
That's a person. This is
Kimmy.
1 meter by 4 meter, and we have 1 meter by 5 meter after this.
Yeah.
So these are really big, and you're like, there are a lot of LEDs. I think this one is 1,600 LEDs. It's 20 by 80. And the reason these are more expensive than just individual LEDs, and people are like, well, why can't I can buy LED pebbles for less. These are designed and organized for outdoor use. So I would not, and also you don't have to create the grid yourself. It's pre-set up. It's got mounting rings. It's got these wires that keep the whole thing stable. It's designed for if you want to use it outside. The 4 and 5 meter have also separate injection points for power and data. You can see the wire. We don't use it in this case. You don't have to. So if you wanted to inject power into a secondary middle of it, you give it 12 volts. It looks like a NeoPixel. I suggest using something like our Sparkle Motion board, which is designed for driving gigantic LED displays.
Yeah.
But this is like, we had this outside of our home all winter for holiday displays.
Yeah.
This is for like, I want a holiday display and I don't want to do a lot of work. I don't want to sit there and solder wires for a dozen hours.
Yeah, that's for Doug right for us.
It's ready to go, and it's bright and it's amazing and it's easy to use, fantastic. And you can, of course, tile them. So if you want a bigger display, you just get multiple ones of these and you just stack them right next to each other, and then the rings hook onto each other very easily, and you can make as big a display as you like.
Yeah, in the chat, someone said coolest badminton game in town. If you want to up your pickleball game, roll in with this. Make a net out of this.
That would be kind of cool.
So you could taunt the opponents on the other side.
Speaking of gigantic netting,
We have more.
the biggest one we could get is 1 by 5 meters. So next year, remember I said I was going to update? We're going to have a 5 by 5 meter display next year.
Huge.
It's huge. It's massive. And it's, like I said, it's so easy to use. It's going to be more expensive than DIYing your own. but you are not going to cry and be frustrated and hate your life because you're trying to craft a gigantic grid.
Is it chainable?
It's so here's the thing. They actually, I don't believe they are. They technically they're chainable, but don't do it because first off, you can't have the power continue on. Like these are so massive. You really want to have power injected into each one. Second, the refresh rates you're going to get if you try to chain multiple of these is going to suck. You can basically do 1x5, and that's kind of maxes out. Like if you do the math on how fast the NeoPixel protocol is at 800 kilohertz, really don't go more than 5 meters. 5 meters, you're going to get maybe like 20 frames a second. It's okay, but it's like you're not going to get excellent refresh rate. In fact, you might even want to inject data halfway through because you want to get even better refresh rates. You should have each panel on its own output from an ESP32 or RP2350 or something, or TNC, something that can drive a huge number of pixels. So technically they're chainable. Don't do it.
Okay, and same as before,
Yeah.
similar.
Rings,
So
mounts, it's
yeah.
designed for outdoor use. Don't dunk it underwater.
So this is about twice the size as this one?
No, that's 1x4 meters. This is 1x5 meters.
Okay.
And they don't get any bigger.
Okay.
I asked, but 1x5 is huge. But like I said, you want something fast, instant for an outdoor netting display.
Yeah.
That doesn't block views. This is great.
This is cool. Alrighty, the star of the show tonight, besides you, Ladyada, our team, our customers, our community of people doing open source and more, is
Dun dun, the PTFE version of the SHT45. We had a bunch of requests for this. When are you going to have the PTFE version of the SHT45? When? Where's my spy camera? Well, finally, the chips were released and available to purchase. So this is just like the SHT45, really high quality temperature and humidity sensor from Sensirion that we've had in the shop for a while. But you could say there's a tiny difference. In the middle, there's a little white dot. That white dot is a filter that is custom made that basically protects the humidity sensing cavity from particles and dampness and junk from getting in there, but it doesn't slow down the reaction rate of the sensor. So it's a little bit more expensive, but it will make your sensor last a lot longer. Now, it's still not, you can't put this thing outside. It's not weatherproofed, but for indoor use, it'll still last much longer, especially if there's any dirt or dust in the air.
And with that is new products for the week.
New.
Okay, cool. So you can see some of this in the background. All right, so we have some questions lined up, but before we do that, we're going to do top secret, and then we'll get the questions, and we got to get out of here because today is a little bit of a shorter day for everyone, but we still wanted to do a show. So let's do some top secret. Okay, on Top Secret, we're going to show 3 videos, and then you're going to talk about one of the designs that we posted up. And you can ask questions, but we might not answer it because these are top secrets. See you on the other side. All right, Ladyada, what is this?
Okay, this is the new round display breakout that we're getting into the shop, and I'm making a tester for it. And the way the tester works is we have a Metro M0 with our iSpy generic tester, and it connects via the iSpy connector on the back, which has all the pins, so it's a great way to just verify all functionality and also the connector. It reads a bitmap off of the SD card, and it displays it onto the back, onto the TFT, and then it pulses the backlight. So now you've tested every element of the display functionality, and this is ready to go into the shop, so you can have some round display action coming soon next week.
See you around.
See you, Blinka.
All right, Ladyada, what is this?
Okay, I'm testing out this ESP32 and ESP8266 programmer dongle. Wait, text up right. That I designed. It's got a USB serial converter chip and the dual NPN transistors and pull-ups needed to kind of do the boot zero and reset toggle that is used to program ESP chips without needing an external like GPIO controller or pressing any buttons. So I've got on LED here, and then I have it wired up to, like I kind of found a random ESP8266 module. And then I use ESP tool here, and let's do like chip ID, and we'll say, okay, found an ESP8266, and it can upload the stub and stuff. And then if I do something like reading the flash, this is a good way to test the LEDs. You can see data being transmitted. And I like having LEDs to help debug to see like is the chip not responding, in which case RX wouldn't be blinking. You can see it's reading all the data off of this chip, and it's working great. And then I also did a test where I erased the chip and then reprogrammed it with the dump firmware, and that worked out great too. And this chip can do like, easily 1 megabit per second baud rate. So this will be handy for me and maybe for others. I'm going to get this into the shop real soon. I just have to fix, this was not quite centered. Had some math mistakes. So I'm going to just like bump that over and fix the resistor on this LED to make it a little brighter.
Hey, Ladyada, is this new?
This is new. How could you tell?
Okay.
I'm testing out some samples of filament letters. These are chip on boards with like dozens of white LEDs with a yellow filament to give them a nice warm glow. I think they're meant to go into like, decorative light bulbs and stuff, but you can spell out stuff. Each one basically is an LED that draws 40 milliamps with about, 3 volt forward voltage. So in this case, I'm driving it off of my power supply. I just have them in series. Of course, you could do it series or parallel. If it's series, just add up about, 2.8 volts per. And if it's in parallel, just add, 40 or 50 milliamps per. Either way, you can make really cool little displays. And they are visible from the back, although they're not as bright. They're like fairly bright, but not like super, super duper bright. But they look cool. They're super fun, and they're not too expensive. So I thought I would stock them. It's going to be like 26 SKUs because I have to have one for each letter, and then I'm also going to have 10 for the numbers. So it'll be 36 items. But then you can spell anything you like. This can make for like cool wearable jewelry. I could think this would be fun to spell on a hat, on toys, on like a display for your room.
That's right.
All sorts of fun stuff. So this is new, and this is going to be in the store soon.
Yeah. Men.
New.
Alrighty, and what's this?
I'm trying to do a couple more projects with I2S out, and I need like more I2S stuff in the shop because we don't have a lot of I2S outputs. So this is a PCM 5102 or 512 I2S output. What I like about this one is it's pretty high quality. You can actually buy it. It's not too expensive, and it doesn't need M clock, so you can use it with a Raspberry Pi.
Okay, cool. Well, that's this week's top secret. Okay, before we go into the questions, a couple folks point out, great for wearables, a lot of fun with this. And then also, this is preview of the round display. So the top secret usually is pretty close to things that we're about to put in the store, but sometimes not. Let's go over to the questions that were sent in, Ladyada.
Okay.
Questions.
Okay, actually, let's do one from the chat since it's from one of the new products.
Okay.
So let's start with this. So this sensor here that you made, why is it on the peninsula? Why is it like just sitting in the middle of the board like that?
It's considered a good taste way of keeping the board from getting from the temperature of the regulator affecting the sensor, and also giving the sensor less thermal mass. The less thermal mass it has in the area, the faster it reacts.
Okay.
I don't know how really effective it is, but if it's easy for me to do, I'll do it.
Science, someone could take your open source hardware files, make one with, make one without, and do some measurements.
They could.
They could.
They could.
Science. And you know what? Maybe it makes no difference, and we just been,
but it doesn't cost anything. Like I said, if it's easy, I do it.
Yeah, it doesn't cost anything. You don't have to pay extra for a bowl to have emptiness in it. Anyways, so here's one. I noticed that there was a recent Adafruit blog on the new Nordic NRF 54L15 SoC. Does anyone know if Adafruit has a NRF 54L15 featherboard in the works? I hope it's something on the list of featherboards for this year. Thanks.
We're probably not going to do one with the NR54L15. We might. It's not a big one on the list because it doesn't have native USB. So we might wait for the H series. The H series has USB built in.
Okie dokie. Next, this one says, already planning the Nixie clock when y'all do numbers. Yeah, we can
You
have numbers.
could.
We can have numbers
We
for
will
these.
have numbers, and yes, you could stack them up and make some like tubes.
Okay,
There'd be a lot of tube. Okay.
that's fine. Still looking for really high aspect ratio bar display, ideally about 120 by 20 millimeters for a calculator project. The smaller of the two SPR bar displays might do if they ever make it to the shop.
Yeah, I think they actually would make for a good. Yeah, there's 2 bar displays, and I think they would do well for a calculator.
Okay, this is not a political thing, but I just noticed, this person says millimeters, right? Here's my thing that I just want to say.
She's probably British. Yeah.
Here's my thing. If we're gonna start renaming oceans, can we just join the metric system already? Can that
I
be?
don't like the metric system.
But you don't. I know you don't like it, but I'm just saying, like, it would just make things easier though, long term, wouldn't it? Remember when we had the badge that said like I heart metric?
I
folks
like
are like,
I
"What's
like imperial
Okay,
and Fahrenheit.
I'm just saying.
I started to. They have a special place in my heart.
Okay, all right, that's fine. I'm just saying if we're gonna
I
rename.
think Fahrenheit makes more sense. I'm a big inches. I understand why people hate it, but
Okay, all right.
but
Fair enough.
Fahrenheit is I think
Okay.
better than Celsius.
So just one color for these?
So far,
fair
they're
enough.
only available in color, but if they sell well, we can request them in other colors.
Okay. Buy a bunch, everybody. Use that discount code. Is there a way to integrate this into motion control platforms like the Dragon Frame?
So I've never heard of Dragon Frame, but if it's motion control, it can do steppers. If it can do steppers, it'll be able to handle a TMC 2209.
Okay. Next up, is it not able to provide power to the RPI Raspberry Pi 5?
1000 milliamps is not a ton. I did start designing a board that can do 2000 milliamps out, boost converter, but the problem is that it's not easy to get batteries that can provide that much current. Also, it's like
Okay.
when things go wrong at 2 amps, it starts to get a little melty. But maybe I'll revisit it.
Next up, I would like to see a DIY photometrology rig using Raspberry Pi cams and stereo.
Yeah, that'd be cool. I think the Pi compute module could do stereo.
Okay. Oh, someone just had a good idea. You could do like a really neat infinity mirror with these where it spells word. That'd be cool. That'd be cool. Okay. Will there be addressable ones?
These are not addressable. So like we could design addressable ones.
Yeah.
They would be quite expensive. I don't know if people would be
Yeah.
willing to pay for them.
Okay. How many modules can I connect after LTC 4311?
There's no limit, but I'd say I think 10 is a good number.
Oh, by the way, for addressables, could you get like one of these that just had like all the little areas, so you could light up different parts and make like an old clock with alarm clock where it has like all the digits.
Oh, like a 7 segment? I'll ask them. Maybe they'll make.
That'd be kind of cool, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, you could do that because then it would just be one, but you can make anything.
Yeah, like hex or
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
I'll ask them to make that.
Ask them.
They probably would do it for me.
They'd love to make that. Okay. Why does nobody ever have teal? This is for the nudes.
It's there's no real reason if there's LEDs that can be made in that color with either the raw LED color or a cover or a what's it called? The epoxy, whatever that they put on top, would act as like a color filter. The thing is that there's not really teal LEDs. So the
Okay.
reason the colors they use are those are like easy to make diodes. It's like
Okay.
red is like well established and like blue is well established and green. So they have all of the standard colors of LEDs because it's like there's only so many chemical processes that you can mess with the PN junction to get it to emit photons of that wavelength. Now you can't do like every wavelength.
Okay. Next up, an Ethernet version would be ideal when controlling tons of pixels in exabytes. Wi-Fi can start to struggle when you push a lot of pixels. Take a look at the Washak that's done with their WLED boards in multiple ports.
Yeah, I actually had a lot of people saying like to use Ethernet, and that's when I was looking for the ESP32 can do Ethernet natively. So maybe I'll make a version that's bigger.
You'll make
But
a
do
Ethernet Sparkle Motion.
Yeah.
No one's questioning your commitment to Sparkle Motion.
Yeah. The only thing is a little bit of a bummer is I was like, oh, maybe PoE could like power the pixels, but like to be honest, PoE really can't do more than like 12 volts, 1 amp. It's really not meant for
Yeah, giant
10 amp, 5 amp. I mean, you can do it with like the later versions, but not really. So you'd have to still provide external power.
That's okay. All right. We'll go to the other questions in a second. I keep seeing different opinions on whether 12 volt was supported PD spec. It looks like it used to be, but dropped in favor of 915. Is that a function of power supply or the target device? Wondering if 12 volts won't work in distant future versions of power supplies.
Yeah, it is a little bit weird. So I'm noticing that like Anchor, for example, doesn't support 12 volts, but like the Amazon generic charger for laptops does. So 12 volt is a part of the standard, or at least it was, but they're all optional other than 5 volts. Like you don't have to support every voltage. Laptops tend to want 20 and like iPads and tablets tend to like 9. And then I guess, I mean, I understand it's like, well, 12 is right between, like it's so close to 9 and 15, they should have like bigger jumps. But like so many things already use 12 volts that it feels like it's a very natural number to go with.
Okay.
Like 18 isn't a normal, like it's not a standard supported value, but 15 is. And then now there's like the next version, which has 28 volts as well. But it's part of the standard. Check the printing on the side of the power supply. And like I found 50-50, half of them have 12 volt out, half of them
Okay.
don't. But you have to dig into the documentation.
All
which
right.
sucks.
Is Adafruit ever going to open an in-person store? Well, we have most of our stuff in micro centers around the USA. In New York, we have same-day delivery, and that's probably where we're going to continue to hover, having another storefront and hiring all the folks that would be there 7 days a week, because folks would want it 7 days a week. Doesn't make too much sense right now. We've done like pop-up stuff, and we've partnered with folks.
Like 4,000 things we stock. I mean, like imagine the store. It would be nuts.
Yeah, so we're probably going to continue to just make sure for the people who are near Micro Center, which there is a lot of them around the USA, you could always request things if they don't have it, and they usually have the things that people want. And then, of course, if you're in the New York area, we have same day now, so it's almost the same. Next up, do you have anything for handling held spectroscopy?
Spectroscopy.
Spectroscopy.
We don't carry any like spectroscopy stuff.
Handheld. Oh,
It's
handheld.
really, I've seen sensors that do it, but it's very expensive. I don't know if they're that great. We have like light sensors, but it's not really what you're asking.
Okay, I'm starting a project that will require Ethernet for our ESP32. I think it's the ESP32S3 that has Ethernet capabilities built in. Would I be able to use the NPI thing that you showed, Ethernet jacks you featured, to make that work?
Yes. I don't know if S3 is the one. I mean, some of them have Ethernet, some don't, but just check the data sheet.
Okay, answered the question about the sensor on the peninsula. Anything planned for a STM32N6 processor?
No, not off the top of my head, but if it's supported in Zephyr, it'll probably come with some of the Zephyr work we're doing.
Okay. OV5640 on a Featherwing?
Nope, but we do have, for Pico, we have the camera cowbell. So you can use that with the RP2350 or 2040.
For additional folks who want to consider different color LEDs, a couple folks in different chats are saying, try to paint the LED letters with a translucent alcohol ink or embedding them in dyed resin. They work.
Maybe. Then it's a silicone covering it's it gives it that tint. Underneath it's like a a blue-white LED, and then they tint it warm white.
Yeah. All right, let me just double check around here because we are getting out here a couple minutes early. We're right on time. Yep. And yep.
Okay.
All right, them's the questions.
Great. 45 minutes, not too bad.
Not too bad.
Not too shabby.
Okay, everybody, that's our show for tonight. Thanks for joining us. Just a little 15 minutes shorter.
It's a holiday.
It's a holiday, but we want to do the show tonight with everyone here. Thanks so much for joining us. We will see you very, very soon. Don't forget the code is PTFE. You can save $1 or $2 on this fantastic sensor that has emptiness, which makes it whole. Profound. We'll see everybody next week. This has been an Adafruit production.
Thanks, everybody.
Here is your moment of Xener.
Good night.